What are you most afraid of? Now, I know that may be a kind of a broad question, but what is one of your fears? I'd be curious to hear what maybe you're afraid of. You can comment down below if you'd like and share maybe something you're afraid of. Maybe not something deep, but what are you afraid of? For me, and I may lose my man card for admitting this, I am terrified of snakes. I can handle spiders, but snakes, they just get to me. I don't do snakes. I don't like snakes. If I see a snake, I move away. If I find a snake in my house, I'll sell it and buy another house. Like, I don't do snakes. But within that, I have obviously had my fair share of encounters with snakes, and in reality, with snakes, size has a tendency to increase my anxiety. I have been to the zoo and seen large pythons, and the size alone, it's hard for me to even walk up to the glass to even take a look at them because it just gets me just everything in me just starts to shut down. But if I do see something smaller, like, I've encountered in the woods or encountered in my different places I've lived, smaller snakes, and there's actually been some small snakes that I saw and was still able to breathe and I didn't pass out and I was able to even maybe pick them up and discard them and was okay with it because in some ways size has a tendency to cause my fear to increase or in some ways be manageable. I've never seen one in person and I don't plan on seeing one in person, and I just pray that if God ever leads me to see one in person, that his grace would be sufficient. But if I ever saw an anaconda in the wild, I'm not sure if I could live past that moment. An anaconda can grow up to 30 feet long in some cases, maybe a little more. I believe they found them even longer than that. And to fathom the fact of something that large, I can't even imagine just talking about it right now. I'd like to just skip this point and go on to my next point. But in reality, I just was doing some study on this and found that there is an 11-inch snake that's one of the most venomous snakes in the world, but it's only 11 inches. It's called the dwarf adder. It's actually found in a very small area of, I believe, Australia, if I'm correct. If you look it up and it's somewhere else, I believe it's Australia. It's about 11 inches long, and this snake is venomous, but its size is very, very small. I got to be honest with you, and if I saw a dwarf adder, I don't know if I would be that scared at first because of its size, but it's just as venomous as something that is larger. Now, before you're questioning what does this Tuesday talk and snakes have to do with my life, I have a word of caution. I would say warning, but maybe warning may be too dramatic of a word, so I'll use the word caution. I was praying about a situation and asking the Lord what to do in this situation, and we were trying to pray whether or not to participate in it or not, and we were kind of caught in between because at first glance the situation looked very benign. It looked like it wasn't a big deal. Just participate. I mean, it's not really that big a deal, but I desire, my wife, we've talked about this quite a bit, we pray about everything. And so we were praying and asking the Lord for direction on what to do in the situation. Should we participate? Because in reality, there was a part of it that felt like, just participate, no harm, no foul. What could come of it? And so I was wrestling with this decision, and in this wrestling, I slept on it overnight. And while I was sleeping overnight, as funny as it may sound to some of you, but God was speaking to me while I was sleeping, because when I woke up, it was like I had all this information that came to me that had been sort of, and I use this terminology because it's more understandable in our world today, it had been downloaded to me. It was almost like in the middle of the night, God downloaded all this information. And here's the word that God gave for me for this particular situation. And that is, he said, don't judge the situation by the size of the snake. And what I mean by that is that for this situation, it was easy to go ahead and take action because it was a small snake. It was small. It wasn't that big of a deal. And if I did it and participated in it, you know, if it wasn't what God wanted me to do, it wasn't that big a deal because it was small, it was little, wasn't that big of a deal. Now, right now, if you asked me to go to fall down at a statue of Satan and to sacrifice some animal with blood, I'll go, oh my God, I can't do that. That's terrible. That's a big snake. There's some things I've asked you to do. It'd be automatic. Oh my God, I can't do that. That'd be terrible. And sometimes in small things, little things, we don't even think. We just, because to us it's not a big deal, I'll just do it. But God began to deal with me in this situation that just because it looks small and looks harmless, that I can't judge it by its size and its relatively harmless look. That what was inside of that situation was just as deadly as something large. And so needless to say, we didn't participate. Even though if I told you this situation, you would probably go, really? That was kind of silly. Why wouldn't you just participate? Exactly what I was thinking. But God sees things that I don't see. And you know, the problem sometimes is that we often end up getting bit by the small things, not by the larger things. It's the small little seeds of hurt and the small things of unforgiveness. It's the things that we go, well, that wasn't a big deal. I don't even really have to deal with it. I'll just move on with my life. But realizing those little things put just as much venom. In fact, they say that smaller snakes are baby snakes that are the smallest ones of a particular species actually are more deadly than their larger adult counterpart because the small babies don't understand how to release the proper amount of venom. So they end up putting more venom in their victim than necessary. And you can actually get killed quicker by a baby snake than you can the adult snake of the same species. And so I have a word of caution for you that maybe you're praying about or considering getting involved in something or going into a situation or maybe doing certain things, or maybe you're praying about it, maybe you're caught in between. Don't judge that involvement based off the size of the snake. And what I mean by the size of the snake is, don't judge whether or not you should be involved in something based off the inherent risk. Well, if I do this, definitely, let's go skydiving today. Absolutely not. Why? Because the inherent risk of skydiving is my chute doesn't open, I hit the ground like a pancake, no more Joel. But if I ask you to go ride a bike today, you'd go, okay, no big deal, let's go ride a bike. Let's do it. Because the inherent risk of riding a bike seems smaller than the risk of skydiving, which seems to be basically playing with death. But you know what's crazy in the reality of it? More people will die today being hit by a bicycle on their bicycle and dying than will be in skydiving. Last year alone, I just read this and I thought it was fascinating. Last year alone, there was over 3.5 million jumps, skydiving jumps. That's not including military. That was skydiving jumps by civilians, and there were 10 deaths. Now there was 10 deaths, I get that. But out of 3.5 million. Today, I have had to run some errands already, and I'm going to go out in a little bit again, getting in my car from here to the store and the places I need to go. There's a lot of people that are going to do the same thing I do and end up dying on the way because of accidents. But I get in my car every day and don't even realize the inherent risk of getting in that car. Now, this is not a traffic and safety briefing or an anti-skydiving. I'm trying to use the comparison because sometimes in certain areas we see the risk and therefore we pull back. And in other areas, we just assume, well, okay, we know people die every day in car accidents, but we get in our car every day not recognizing the inherent risk. And so I have a word of caution for you today for a Tuesday Talk. We have a lot of varieties of subjects we cover here on Tuesday Talks, and today is a word of caution. I don't want to use the word warning, but I'm going to use the word caution. Some of you are considering, and some of you have already entered in to situations that look harmless, that their inherent risk to you seems not that big of a deal. But if you're not careful, those things that seem harmless and not that big of a deal would be the things that end up causing the most damage in you. There are some of you that have had things done to you, small things, small offenses, small hurts that you don't deal with because they're not that big of a deal, but you don't realize that small seed is in your heart and it's growing every day. And eventually one day, before you realize it, that small seed is going to grow into a huge amount of unforgiveness or hurt. I've often used this analogy, but if I gave you a 100-pound rock today and asked you to carry it around, that would be overwhelming to most of us. 100 pounds, I don't know if I can do that. And then rightfully so, that'd be a lot of weight to carry to where you went. But in reality, if every year for your birthday, starting at the age of 10, I gave you a 2-pound rock. 2 pounds is not that big. Most people, even a child, can handle 2 pounds. And I put it in a bag. I gave you a backpack and I put 2 pounds in that rock, in that bag, and said for you to live that rest of the year with a 2 pound. And then when you came back for your next birthday, added 2 more pounds. So now you got 4 pounds. In reality, what would happen in your body is the amount of weight added to you would be so small that you would not notice that in 10 years you'd have 20 pounds. In 20 years, you'd have 40 pounds. If I hand you a 40-pound rock starting at year 1, you go, my goodness, this is a big deal. But 20 years of 2-pound rocks, you still have the same weight, but it happens so subtly you don't even realize you're carrying it. Some of you don't have maybe a catastrophic event in your life that you go, my God, I was handed a 50-pound weight. Oh, it's so crushing. I need God's help. But you've been picking out 1 pound, 2 pound, 1 pound, half-pound rocks your entire life. And what you don't realize is, while you're over here going, wow, I don't have a 50-pound rock like they do, you've got 51-pound rocks. So you're just as much in danger as they are, but yours just happen small, not large. So just a challenge for some of you, and a word of caution. Don't judge the risk by the size. Don't judge the wound by the size, whether small or big. The Bible says it's the little foxes that spoil things, not the giant things, it's the little things. So this is a challenge today to be cautious over the little foxes, not the big giant roaring lions in our life, the little things, because those things are the ones that can truly destroy you. As always, thank you for joining Tuesday Talk. You can get the rest of our content right here on our YouTube channel. I would suggest if you would like to subscribe, that way you know every time we upload something brand new to the channel. Right here as well, in just a moment, you can click and get the rest of Tuesday Talks, including last week's video. And I would encourage you, as always, if these touch you and bless you, consider sharing it with somebody that may benefit from them as well. This is not a desire to grow our channel. It's really a desire to help as many people grow closer to Jesus as we possibly can. As always, thank you for your time today. I hope you have a wonderful Tuesday and an amazing week walking with Jesus.